Our next reader's fiction and poetry have been featured in the Kenyon Review Online, New England Review, Great Jones Street, Witness, Hobart, and others. She has been named a Peter Taylor Fellow at the Kenyon Review and a finalist for the Glimmer Train Very Short Fiction Award. A full list of publications and links to her work can be found at moliadumbleton.com. Please give a warm welcome to Molia Dumbleton.
Hey, you guys. I'm Molly. I get super nervous for the first couple minutes, so just bear with me. If you happen to know me and that's why you came, thank you so much. And if you're a stranger, hi. Okay, what I'm going to do is, I changed these all around this morning, so you're going to see how this goes. I'm going to do 4 short pieces. The first one is a story excerpt. It's not quite the first half of a story. At that point, it kind of goes dark, and we all want to sort of have fun, so we're going to get out of there before it's ugly. The second one is a very, very short story, and the third and fourth are just really little, sort of silly, not serious poems. Cap it off with a little. Okay, so the story is called Top 7 Bible Facts, and because you don't get the whole thing, I'll just tell you up front that they go out of order on purpose. I'm not my pages aren't falling apart. Top 7 Bible Facts, number 3. The first 2 were boring, but sorry, I have to move this stuff around or I'm just gonna get screwy. Oh, guys. Number 3. The first 2 were boring, but the third top Bible fact that Micah listed off while we waited for our moms to pick us up early from Bible camp, the day after the thing that happened at the lake, was that there are 55 lions in the Holy Bible and not a single house cat. I think that's because house cats are terrible, and it's been a big mistake for people to start bringing them into their houses to be in the first place. When the zoo lady came to camp and showed us a chinchilla, the whole cabin got a turn to pet it, and everybody said how soft it was, and then all the other boys got it in their heads that they all wanted chinchillas as pets, but they must have just been talking right through the whole part of the zoo lady's speech where she said specifically that chinchillas are really soft, but you definitely don't want one of them as a pet. They stay up all night running around in their cages, for one, and then sleep all day when you want to play with them. And for 2, chinchillas don't really want you around to begin with. I think a pet should be somebody that likes having you around and doesn't mind you holding it. Otherwise, why bother? Because then you're just trapping it like some kind of captive. And I think if you ask someone if they'd rather be a captor or a captive and they say captor, you really should not trust them. Captives in books are the good guys, right? They're the ones you root for, the ones who run away to freedom if pirates or slave owners or Babylonians don't try their wrist rope knots tight enough. I guess that makes the boys in my cabin pirates. I don't know what that makes me, but can you name a chinchilla who wouldn't run away if you got the chance? I think a pet is maybe something that loves you, like one of those kinds of moms that you see with the short pants and the sunglasses, or like some people's dogs, how they stick around even if they don't have a leash on, making them stay. They just stay. Micah says there's 14 dogs in the Bible, and I'm not going to go through the whole damn Bible finding them, but maybe if somebody else made a list, I'd be sort of interested to look those up. Number 4, Micah kept going and said the first bird mentioned in the Bible isn't Noah's dove, like maybe you'd think it would be, and could I actually guess what it is? I said hawk, not because I think that's what it is, but because I think sometimes people like Micah make you guess at things on purpose when they know, and they think that you don't know, because then they get to be the smart one. The best thing, I think, is to answer something sort of weird instead. That way you might be playing a trick on them, but you might not be, which makes them have to wonder if maybe you're the smart one. Micah said, no, not a hawk, but a hawk was sort of on the right track, and did I know why? He leaned forward and raised his eyebrows like as if he was my teacher. I said, 'cause they fly south for winter, right? And Micah punched me in my leg. Number 2, I said, wait a second, what was that second one again? Micah flipped back a page and read it. The Bible was written in 3 languages, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. I said, God wrote this? And Micah said, no, moron, what were you doing all week? God told people what to write, and they wrote it down. And I said, look, if the actual people God talked to couldn't agree on what language it should be in, how are we supposed to believe it had specifically said for us to wear deodorant to scripture study? Micah said that was just something they said for me, that I'd been stinking up the place after soccer, so the cabin counselors had drawn straws and made Eli make an announcement as if it was for everybody and straight from the Bible. Number 5, he flipped back to his page again and asked if I knew the Bible's 2 world records. I said, world record? He said, yeah, like the Bible is the world's most, and looked at me like for me to fill in the ending. I said, most requested song? He glared and said, world's best-selling book, and also world's most. Did I know? Eyebrows again. I said, world's most shoplifted book? And his eyes opened wide. He said that was right. And did I know that? Because that's how my family, I pretended I understood, but didn't feel comfortable saying. After everything that had happened, it felt good to get under Micah's skin a little bit, let him know he hadn't figured me out. I think some people only try to figure you out just enough to rule you, and I wasn't interested in that anymore. Micah was explaining how his mom kept Bibles all over their house so a person could even read it, even when they were on the toilet. And sometimes Jewish people, like shoplifters, would just ask someone for one of their extra bathroom Bibles instead of stealing something like a Bible. Although when he really thought about it, maybe those people just didn't know any better because they didn't have a Bible yet. He looked stumped. I said, you'd think God would have printed up some himself and had them just be free from the beginning and known about all the trouble this shoplifting was going to cause. Number 6, I think he wasn't listening because he said, okay, here's an easy one. Even you might know this. Which book of the Bible is the only one that doesn't mention the word God? That one was easy. It's Esther. I thought about saying Ruby just to get a rise out of him, but I could tell he was starting to get bored of giving me quizzes from our Holy Bible workbook, and I definitely didn't want to have to come up with other stuff to distract him with. So I just went ahead and said Esther. He lit up and said, very good, and maybe I had been paying attention to something this week. It was really easy to picture Micah being a teacher. It made me realize that most of my school teachers probably were Micah when they were our age. That made me understand them a little bit better, but like them a little bit less. So it takes a dark turn after that, so I'm going to leave you there. It's on my website, but also on a journal called Great Jones Street, if you care to follow it. You can. Okay, number 2 is super short. Does anybody speak Romanian? It's a true question. No. Okay. I can just make stuff up now. Okay, the real title of this is Pasarea Paradisului, but it's the Romanian word for birds of paradise, so I'm thinking maybe I should just change the title to Birds of Paradise. So, Birds of Paradise. The senora downstairs had always been crazy since the day she moved into the empty apartment more than 20 years ago, but she was starting to make more sense to Nunzio now that he was going crazy too. She showed him her collection of collectibles, a pipe cleaner she called Annie Oakley's rifle, a thumbtack she called Abe Lincoln's hat, a fingernail she called the devil's rib. She lifted each item daily and dusted beneath it with a single ostrich feather, which she kept curled in a cookie jar next to the actual cookie jar, which held dog biscuits. She gave Nunzio lessons on her toy xylophone, a dozen variations on the Muffin Man, and she translated the sounds of the fairies' chatter, which only she could hear during the long, tense moment between the mallet strike and when the room got quiet again. Nunzio liked visiting the Signora because she made him marshmallow sandwiches, which his wife never did because they made his fingers sticky, and everything he touched for the rest of the day stuck to him until he was a visual encyclopedia of the 10 things he'd done since lunchtime. He liked to sit in the garden with the Signora now, too, even though he could feel his grown children tisking from the windows when the Signora sat in his lap and held his lemonade glass to his mouth for him and whispered the Romanian words for garden flowers in his ear. He could still see only dandelions, but he knew with some faith and time and vision, he would be able to see the rest of them with the same clarity the Signora could. Their delicate spindles and firework pops and deep violet lips. He couldn't wait. So I'm not a poet, but Heartache and Misery of 2016, take a number, threw me in that direction. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. Okay, a very little poem called Rocket Ship. And some people over here will know the setting of this, even though they don't know it yet. Shuttling in a wood-paneled radio flyer down a sidewalk of my childhood, tugged by a child of my own, the thumps and tips are wild and familiar, the same exact as always. My bones recall the rhythm. Who is in charge of these sidewalks, and shouldn't they be better, at least different or new or younger maybe by now? I guess it means these trees are still here too. After all, why would they be different? Just because I have been gone. Just because they do not feel the bumps harder now in their bones, or worry that they no longer squeal faster and faster until they hit a tree root, a bump, that same big one, and love being launched up and out the way they used to? Or maybe they never did. Maybe they never would have wanted that. I have no memory of ever wanting that. Did I ever squeal faster? Or do I fool myself? That's what children want. That's a joy I have lost. My odds of going down in a fiery crash are not good. Have never been good. The numbers are quite simply against it. The likelihood statistically insignificant. But I've never traded in likelihood or statistics. That was never my language. Even when this wagon was fun, even then I spoke in what ifs and fiery crashes. They are my mother tongue. This is a very itty-bitty little silly one, but I'll leave you with this. It's called Trap the Farm Boys. You can guess where this came from. Trap the farm boys on the farm, take away their keys and books, and give them only horses and other boring farm boys to talk to. Make them walk the fields morning after night after morning to record the news among the seeds, until every tiny sprout is news and every frost a worry. Disrupt their sense of story arc so they will learn to read what's already being said beneath their feet and above their heads, and never say, I'm tired of this moon, bring me another.